What's up, y'all? This is Henny. Today, I want to specifically talk about this. This is my iPad Mini 5. And for the past few months, I've been loving the hell out of this thing. And I want to tell y'all why. Between the form factor, the ability to do so many different things from the mobility standpoint, as well as a power standpoint. Wasn't really sure how much I'd be able to get done on a device this small, but man. It's been holding me down, and a lot of y'all been asking me, yo, what's up with that? And is that worth buying in 2019? This is the iPad Mini 5 with the lightning connector and the headphone jack. We're gonna get into it now, right after this. Let's go!
The business.
So yo, as soon as I saw this thing announced mid-March of this year, I was extremely excited off the rip. I was like, yo, I've always loved the 7.9 form factor. I originally had the iPad Mini 1. When that came out, I loved it for so many things because honestly, part of the reason I loved the iPad in itself was the capability to do so much in a small form factor. And that's why I loved the iPad Mini when it was released. And so I got my hands on it as soon as it was available, and I had to put it through its paces. Now it's been about a couple months. I can tell you exactly what I have been able to do and what I haven't been able to do. But if we want to break down the specs, right? You got an A12 Bionic processor in it. You still got the lightning jack. You still got the headphone, but you have a 7.9 form factor, no stereo speakers, but you do have a great laminated retina display. With all that being said, let me break down some of the things that I've been able to do and how far you might be able to take it if this is something that you're interested in. Oh yeah, and it does support the pencil. Now, mind you, it's the older pencil, but Apple Pencil, but the pencil nonetheless. And we'll get into that as well. So let's go. So as we look at it, I am still running the iPad OS Beta 1. It's been about a week or a little less than a week that I've had this running up here. And, you know, despite all the quirks, I haven't really had that many issues with apps that I use on the regular on this device. And one of the main things that's brought me back to really loving it was how I use it professionally. Whether it's for music or it's for video editing, content creation, that type of thing. You know, people were like, well, you have, you know, this iPad Pro 12-inch maxed out 1 terabyte beast of a device. Why would you need something like the iPad Mini? For those of you who don't know, I haven't been using iMacs, my MacBook Pro, for some time now because I love the iPad as a daily driver. But when I saw that they came with an iPad Mini that still had that A12 processor in it, I had to see, could I get some of the professional things done as well? Picking this thing up, one of the first things, like I've said before, is would it fit in this bag? This is the Peak Design Tech Pouch, and the fact that it fits in this bag along with all of my other adapters, trinkets, and everything I've talked about before with this bag, it just makes it such more of a fun device to take with you wherever you go. You know, I'll take my iPad when I'm doing work stuff and when I'm doing, you know, bigger things, but everyday use, I've been using this iPad Mini on the go. And so whether I was traveling, whether I was on the plane, whether my kids needed it in the back seat, this was the device that I usually had with me. One of the cool things is if you have a lot of the lightning adapters, the lightning dongles, all the things that are lightning still, you know, it still works just as well. So, you know, I've talked about the Shure MV88 for capturing audio. I mean, this thing has worked well when it came to, you know, me being in a studio, capturing ideas when, you know, me and my colleagues were, you know, doing live things, or maybe with the songwriter and we're really just trying to get some ideas going. I love the fact that I can still plug this in and get this thing going. You know, when I got to using this on a daily basis, I said, you know what, let's put it through its paces and let me try to do the same things that I would do on my iPad Pro. The first thing I was trying to do was make music. One of the first thing was just let me see how far I can push it creating music and doing those things. So now I'm in Beatmaker 3 and you know, I have a track that I was working on the other day, just a cool little vibe. So you can see I'm running 48 kilohertz. I'm running the latency all the way up because I have a lot of audio unit plugins going on. 16-bit But if I start playing this, let me see. So I started with some drums. Started vibing, added some Jussie vocals. Added the tines, you know, some good road sounds. Added a bass from Moog's Model D app. Some more percussions. Some organ sounds. So, just a quick vibe that I was creating the other day, but you can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost 9 audio unit, or maybe 8 to 9 audio unit plugins running with no issue, playing off my Bluetooth at the moment. I'm able to get all that done with no hiccup. Sometimes I use a lot more sounds than that, sometimes I use less, but I had to test the power on it just to be able to see how much I can push this thing like I was going to push any other device. Being able to get that much done and it's still running pretty smooth, I knew that this thing was capable to create on the go when I had ideas and I didn't bring something like my iPad Pro with me. That was clutch. Now, some of the other things I do, you know, I love to read on this type of device. It's, you know, very similar in form factor to like a Kindle or something like that. And I really like being able to read on this device as well. When it comes to content creation, using LumaFusion. I mean, honestly, it's been able to give me the same type of performance as my iPhone would. You know, not as much as, you know, I'm not trying to do 4K 10-bit files or you know, some crazy, you know, big files on this device, but even my 4K 24 frames a second files, you know, they play smoothly, color graded, the whole nine, just like everything else, using LumaFusion. All the things I would normally do on the go, I'm able to do that on this device as well. So when I went and picked this up, I did pick up the 256 gigabyte version, and it has LTE as well. And I love having both the space and the LTE because as a father, being able to have a device where your kids can still have connections, because my kids, all their other devices are Wi-Fi based, being able to give them a device in the back car, on a plane, in a restaurant, those types of things make it very convenient for me to be able to, you know, give them the device and be able to get creative, do some things on their own. So I let the kids use this device as well a lot, play games, whatever it is. So if you're looking at a device like this, right, you have a phone, you might, you know, have an older iPad and you're trying to see about going into maybe some more professional things or maybe doing a little bit more work on your iPad and everything coming with iPad OS, knowing that you'll be able to, you know, unload files off your iPad as well as take files and put them in. All the big features that's coming with iPad OS, as well as really being able to do things on the go. This is a great device. I haven't had too many power issues. So when I take this thing to the studio, a lot of times I'll either use it as a sound recording device or sound module where I just plug this in and I play this, you know. Yeah, that was loud. That was loud. That was Bose be holding it down. I'll use this as a sound module, or I'll take it and I'll, you know, plug it up to something like Cubase's 2, and I'll bring in some files or record some audio in like I've showed in past videos using like the Apogee Hype mic. Or I plugged up something like this, the Zoom U22, plugged it straight in, started recording some bass, recorded some guitar. I've actually recorded live piano, recorded straight in there. And what's good is the fact that it's so small, you can plop it on the top of a piano case or, you know, put it right there next to a MIDI keyboard, or it's just that size makes it so easy for you to take it so many different places. And that's one of the reasons I love this thing so much. Being able to have the iPad apps, but in a smaller form factor, taking it with me, having it in something like this tech pouch, it's been great. So when it comes to this device, I haven't run into too many issues. Now, granted, it's not going to give me that same, screen real estate. I had to get used to that when it came to certain apps and being, really having to pinch in and zoom in when I'm looking at certain things. Or the fact that this iPad doesn't have stereo speakers. I've been used to having stereo speakers on my iPad Pro, on my last year's iPad Pro 10.5. I really like that sound if I'm not using something like my AirPods or some headphones to listen to what I'm doing, on this device. Because I watch a lot of content on this device as well. So I'll usually just plug in my AirPods and watch it. And when I'm in the bed or doing something like that, it's a lot easier to hold. It's just a lot easier to take with you and do things with. So all in all, for me, the music part, the video creation, editing video, writing down notes, scribbling, drawing, with the kids being able to use this as my e-reader, as well as, just consuming content, it's a great device to have. It can be a great device for somebody who has an older iPad. It could be a great device for somebody like myself who has a bigger iPad but doesn't have a laptop. So it's almost like I have a smaller iPad for, consuming content or really having something very mobile, and then have a bigger iPad that I use very, pretty much on a professional basis, and that's how I use that device. The question is, what do you need an iPad for? I've talked about it in other videos. There's so many different versions of the iPad now. You're going to be able to have a lot of options, and it really just depends on what your needs are. For me, this iPad Mini 5, its form factor, the ability to do what I can do on the go, and in a pinch, I can really get some professional things done. It's great for me, And with iPad OS coming in the fall, it's only going to get even easier for you to do bigger and better things on a device like this. So if the iPad Mini 5 is something that you're looking at, listen, it's a great device and I would highly recommend it. So let me know in the comments, what iPad are you using? And if the iPad Mini is something that you're looking for another device for yourself, or something that can replace the iPad that you have. I'd love to hear from y'all. And that was my take on the iPad Mini 5. Hopefully you got something from that. And I'll catch y'all in the next one. Hit 'em out!